Welcome back everyone, Philip here from BlackBull Markets. I hope you're all doing well and had a good week of trading. Couple of pairs we want to look at, another nice market update for you guys. So make sure to stick through all the way to the end of the video to check out all the pairs we are looking at and look for any potential moves that we could have. And also before we do dive into this video, make sure to smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel if you guys are interested in learning more about Forex and improving your trading skills. So let's have a look at the charts and see what we have. We've got a couple to look at. AUD USD, the first one we're looking at, we have this nice, well, we had this nice channel push further higher. We saw eventually a nice little breakdown below using a fib support. We can see we used that 38.2 previously for a bit of a rejection, and then we ended up using this 50% mark zone. Now these fib zones all actually correlate with nice support / resistance zones. We see where the 50% mark is sitting at right now is a bit of a consolidation zone. We saw the wick dip into that, reaching for a bit of liquidity to push further higher, and then we started with this nice bullish move to the upside. We can see we started to look to perhaps move inside another channel, so we could potentially follow in the footsteps of this previous big move. So that's what we'll be looking for Aussie dollar. We could see a potential move coming back down here if we are interested in trading the US session, move to this trend line and then use that zone to push back up. Obviously targets to the upside, we'll be looking at, you know, the top trend line over here of this channel. We also need to keep in mind this zone right over here, 0.74, 2,000 marks, 200 mark zone, sorry. Big psychological level. That's where the market previously rejected, so we need to keep that in mind. If the market does continue to move further on this channel, we could actually look at closing a bit earlier, because it could use that to break or to sort of use that as a resistance to push further back to the downside, because that is a fairly strong area. However, if we can break further higher above it, obviously we need to look for other moves. But personally, if it does reach it, I'll be looking to either close positions, and then I'll wait for a break again and then a retest to push further higher. Potentially this could happen next week. Another option we need to look at, obviously always looking at both sides of the story. We could see previously we had a channel, very similar structure, right, and the market broke down below it, used the internal support / resistance area for a rejection, which offers us another re-entry. So we could be looking at this zone right over here. We see the market sort of push back down below it, could break past it and then reject that zone, just like we saw over here, and for moves coming further to the downside. Obviously as traders we need to look at both sides of the picture, because we're not here to be right. We're just here to follow what the market gives us and take what it offers, right? Next pair, want to be looking here at gold. Now, we've been focusing on gold for a very long time now. Gold has been following analysis fairly nicely. We obviously have that all-time high. We've got a mark here. It's a 2074.0 mark zone. That's kind of where we're seeing the market reach those all-time highs. We're stuck back again in this consolidation after rejecting it. Now we've had a couple of beautiful analysis on this, so if you want to go see those, definitely go check out the previous video to see how we looked at the market and how we could have potentially predicted what was going on and how we saw these moves coming out. Okay, so currently, like I said, we're stuck in consolidation. I'll pop it on the hourly term time frame so we can see it a bit better and a bit more structure in the market. We saw this as the previous consolidation. We saw the market break out with this nice big green candle. Rejection on here, we spoke about this. Moves moving further higher just below their high. We then saw a push back down. We ended up looking for another rejection on the zone over here. Obviously we didn't get anything. Market broke down below, which was our other option. Like I said, always look at both sides of the picture. Now we're consolidating in here, and we could potentially be using this US market to either break back to the upside, and this could indicate that the market is ready to break those all-time highs. We might not see it this week, but we could potentially see it next week. Again, the other option from breakouts are to the downside, so we need to keep that in mind. If we break to the downside, obviously we have a lot of support / resistance zones coming up, so we have to keep that in mind. Obviously, if we trade back into a chart, there tends to be a lot of traffic in the zone. All right, we have this low, this 1976 mark zone is where we saw previous support, previous resistance as well, and then past that we have internal support / resistance areas 1930 or 1940-ish. And then just below that, 1920, 1919, okay, is another zone. We saw a consolidation area. So inside there, not so great. So if we do break further low, we can look for a clean move to the 1940 mark zone. Obviously, if we break further higher, I would again look for those highs. Look to either take money off the table if it does reach it. If it breaks further higher, we're in uncharted territory. We have to start using those round psychological levels for market structure or potential targets, okay? Another pair I want to be looking at. WTI again, you know, WTI, we were looking at this as well, this consolidation. I'll pop it here on the 4 hourly term time frame so you guys can see a bit, but better actually. Let's go back to the hourly. We'll zoom out just a little bit more so you can see we had this, obviously this gap with oil to the upside. So we use that as our bottom support, and we had that top support. Now, if you guys remember, we were speaking about this as well. Market started to consolidate, and here again we had two options: either break to the upside or break to the downside. Now we broke a bit lower down. Market didn't really give us any structure to look at. We are now hitting this support, right? This is the support we're seeing right here, roughly $104 a barrel. We saw it actually starting to break a little bit lower. So if we zoom in just a little bit more, I'll quickly show you guys that structure we have right over there. Okay, so let's have a quick look. So this is that support that we have. I'll get this out the way as well. So you can see there's that support we have sitting right over here. Market actually just broken down below it. So we could look for rejections for this market to push to the downside. Now the initial spike in oil up could have potentially been a panic with people not knowing what's going on or how this is going, what the current world's conditions are going to do to the oil market. So we are seeing that. We obviously seen fuel prices skyrocket even further with this helping hand as well. So now we could see people are starting to realize that maybe there's not so much going on with oil. Other countries are producing oil. Obviously Canada is a fairly big oil producer, so they could be moving over to that as well. Okay, so let's see if we could potentially see that further drop down in this if it does stay below the support. Okay, another pair we're looking at, US30. This one has been very interesting. We obviously had this double bottom. We were speaking about this as well. On the higher term time frame, the daily term time frame, we had this support that the market broke down below. We saw a nice little fake out. Like I mentioned, this is the reason why I wait for breaks and retests personally, okay? Because if we did end up taking a sell position on that candle close, stop loss logically either would have been up here, so it's a fairly big stop loss, so that gives us not a lot of room, or gives us, not a lot of space to move in for our take profit target. So we want to get a good ratio. That's why I prefer to take these breakouts. But another reason is, we could have taken this. Now the market is rejected back in it. It's back in that zone. It's actually starting to reject on that previous support. Previous potential resistance has gone back above it, now turned support. So we could actually now see US30 continue further higher inside of the structure. Now keep in mind, we're going back into structure, so we need to look at internal support / resistance areas. So the market could use these for either turnaround points or re-entries or any sort of structure that we could use to our benefit as well. Okay, so US30, those are a couple of options. If we can stay above the support, let's see if we can move further higher. And obviously, knowing what US30 consists of, we could always look for it to go higher and higher. Remember, I always speak about this as well. These kind of, things that we trade, these indices that we trade, tend to always have an uptrend, right? Until we have a bit of a rejection. We see rejections, or let's call it reversals in the market. We see them being quite sharp, right? Because these are run by fear, right? Every single time the market rejects, we see violent moves because people panic. These moves to the downside are, fueled by fear. And then we see recovery does take its time, and then big drops again. So recovery takes its time. We're starting to see a slowdown here like we saw previously, right? Every time before we see a big drop, we tend to see the market slow down a bit. I'm sure if you guys put an indicator on here like a stochastic or something, or MACD, there could potentially be a divergence as well. So that could be another option. But we do see this market really slowing down, indicating that there could be a bit of a violent drop in this, coming up. So we have a bit of a support coming up, and that could be a nice potential target if we do get any entry signals. Okay, so that's something we could look out for as well. Another pair I want to look at for you guys is, I want to have a look here at EURUSD, right? EURUSD has had some interesting moves. We saw it now, if we look here at the daily term time frame, you guys can see these are old support / resistance zones we do chart out. Weekly term time frame, we can see it's a weekly support the market has come down to, rejected it now, so now we're stuck between a weekly support and a 4-hourly support, so resistance, so obviously, weekly support is, tends to be a lot stronger, so we could play around in here for a bit until we either break further higher, break past the zone. And the nice thing when we do trade with these zones, we could look for breaks and retests and nice little entries. And the nice thing about these breaks and retests, we get entries, stop losses are much tighter, which gives us a much bigger profit to risk reward ratio. Okay, So if we can get a nice tighter entry instead of taking a breakout, that again is why I don't like taking breakouts, because if the market moves up, you know, most logical place would be to put that stop loss below a low somewhere, and then our, you know, entry would be at that breakout candle close, and that does not really give us a lot of profit risk reward ratio benefit. Okay, so I like these tighter entries. That's kind of what I'm looking for. If you guys want to trade on the lower term time frames, that's, you know, that's very, very possible as well. You know, we could trade anything between these two zones. As any traders, that's kind of what we're looking for, is trading between zones. So if you're shorter term, personally, I would wait for the market to come back down here. Might not see it this week, but next week could have obviously some really good setups as we approach these nice support/resistance zones, guys. All right, but that's it for it, guys. Now, like I said, or like I always say, if you guys want to see any charts that you want us to analyze, let us know down below in the comment section. We'll be happy to have a look at those. If you guys have any questions, also comment down below. We'll be happy to see them. Now, smash that like button if you guys did learn anything, or if this analysis was helpful for you guys. It's much appreciated. Also, subscribe to the channel, like I said, if you guys are interested in improving your trading skills. Now, from everyone here at BlackBull Markets, enjoy your weekend, and as always, trade safe.